the initial state of the Levi's Company established by founder Levi Strauss in 1853. Throughout history, women have sought various methods to increase bust size, and this balloon-based contraption was considered one of the less risky options. A bullet-ridden pickup truck passing by a skeleton lying on the road in Somalia, 1992. Passers-by gather to watch WPOE hero Audie Murphy as he visits a barber in Texas, 1946. South Korean actress Choi Yoon-hee, having been kidnapped, is greeted by her new abductor, Kim Jong-il, in North Korea, 1978. A hippie wedding ceremony, 1965. Approximately 100 individuals are shown drawing lots to evenly divide 12 acres of sand dunes they had purchased. This location would eventually develop into the city of Tel Aviv, Israel. Despite strong pressure from the Catholic Church, which believed sex was justified only for procreation, Ireland permitted the free sale of contraceptives in 1978. The map of the world that was utilized by Christopher Columbus in 1492. This 1910 service vehicle represented a revolutionary breakthrough for U.S. city infrastructure, replacing the simple carts and ladders previously used for maintaining streetlights. An American certificate from 1923 acknowledging aid given to starving children in the Soviet Union, stating, "The owner of this certificate has fed one hungry orphan." The collapse of a spectator grandstand is captured during the Indianapolis 500 race in the USA 1960. The production of chamber pots made from German helmets in Denmark, 1945. Sacks filled with women's hair shorn from victims before they were burned in the crematoriums at Auschwitz concentration camp, February 1945. Vincenzo Peruggia stole the Mona Lisa in 1911 by simply walking into the unguarded Louvre, removing the painting from its frame, and walking out. The vehicle in which Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed were traveling is shown following the car accident on August 31, 1997. An 18-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger poses with his classmate in 1965. A woman holding a portrait of her son meets the last train carrying former German prisoners returning from the USSR to Germany in 1955. 89-year-old billionaire J. Howard Marshall is pictured with model Anna Nicole Smith. She eagerly awaited the reading of his will, only to find that her husband did not leave her a single cent. A sign reads, "God Save America from Communism" in Boston, USA, 1950. School children hide under their desks during a drill on how to react to an enemy air raid in the USA, 1942. German vehicles encounter the difficult conditions of Russian roads in the USSR, 1941. Finnish blacksmith Pertamaki waiting in line all night to be the first to buy a bottle of vodka after the end of Prohibition, April 5, 1932. The last Mexican grizzly bear being shown to the public in Mexico, 1954. During World War II, the Soviet Army used pigeons to deliver incendiary shells. The birds were dropped from planes with shells attached, which triggered when they landed on enemy aircraft. In 1961, the U.S. Air Force accidentally dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Goldsboro, North Carolina. One bomb came perilously close to detonating, which would have caused an explosion 260 times more powerful than Hiroshima. Canaan Banana, the first president of Zimbabwe, 1980. British photographer William Saunders traveled to China and staged this beheading photo to provoke disgust in the West regarding Asian customs and to encourage efforts to civilize the country. Before the invention of sunscreen, beauties from the 1940s attempted to protect their skin from burns using various methods. On October 22, 1895, a train speeding to make up for lost time failed to brake, crashing through the facade of the Montparnasse station and landing 10 meters below on the street. These rock carvings by Australian Aborigines are estimated to be about 15,000 to 40,000 years old. Thanks to the USSR, India vaulted from the Middle Ages into the future. In 1981, India successfully launched its first satellite from its own soil, but due to a lack of specialized vehicles, the rocket and satellite components had to be transported on bullock carts. In 1949, Charles Langs invented adhesive bra cups for sunbathing that stuck to the skin, but this strapless solution never became popular. The only Japanese survivor of the Titanic lost his job and was branded a coward in his homeland for not displaying bravery and perishing with the other passengers, as expected of a samurai descendant. Gerard Homel, a renowned mountaineer famous for multiple ascents of Everest and other major summits, tragically died not on a mountain, but after falling from a 2-meter ladder while changing a light bulb in his own home. Jenny was arrested in 1924 for illegal alcohol distribution. She hid flasks under her fur coat and made thousands during Prohibition. For days, a woman blocked bulldozers from demolishing her home for a highway. In 1958, sheriffs posing as reporters disarmed her. She received $9,000, but the house was destroyed. A mother reassures her child with the words, "Don't be afraid, boy, mommy is nearby," in Italy, 1940. A photograph taken in 1937 shows Russian school children reacting to an alarm. A photograph showing a high school examination taking place in the city of Wuhan, China in 2008. A comparison showing the transformation of Hiroshima since the events of 1945. A poignant scene from 1944 shows a small boy handing a flower to an older boy upon their arrival at Auschwitz. Tragically, everyone captured in this photograph was executed by the Germans on that very day. In 1942, a Chinese-American worker at a Los Angeles factory wrote on his back to identify himself as Chinese, not Japanese. Survivors and stunned residents of Hiroshima gather in the street just 10 minutes after the atomic explosion in 1945. A German man in 1935 is accused of having relations with a Jewish woman wearing a sign that reads, "I am a race defiler." A woman in the 1950s sits inside a Wilhelm Reich orgone accumulator, a pseudo-scientific box meant to collect life energy. One husband noted the main benefit was that his wife sat silently inside it for 4 hours daily. A man celebrates the end of Prohibition in the USA on December 5, 1933. A photo from 1892 of the real Batman, Bill Smith. He was a butcher who fought off thieves and patrolled the streets of New York at night searching for criminals. An archival photo depicts the psychopathic killer Harvey Glattman, who posed as a photographer in 1958. Women approached him for photo sessions, but he would instead rape them, take a souvenir photo, and subsequently, the women would disappear. A photograph taken 1 second before a crash in 1962. A woman demanding the right to vote is arrested in 1914. A torture device invented by Christian priests in the 15th century, specifically designed to break the wrists and arms of those accused of heresy. Although the KKK was officially banned in the 1870s and went underground, the organization resumed open activities in 1915, attracting about 6 million members, while lynchings in the U.S. continued. German soldiers are greeted with flowers by Soviet tanks in Poland, September 1939. Following the deportation of the remaining inhabitants to Auschwitz in March 1943, bundles and bags of personal belongings litter the streets of the Krakow ghetto, as the victims were ordered to leave their possessions behind, being told they would no longer need them. An emaciated American soldier gazes at the camera after being liberated from a German prisoner of war camp in Limburg, Germany, 1945. Police removing bodies from the Amityville house in 1974, where Ronald Defy killed his father, mother, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. This story later became the basis for many horror books and films. The first photograph taken of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant on the morning of April 26, 1986, following the disaster. The image but appears grainy because the radiation damaged the film. Francesco Lentini, born in Sicily in 1889 with a rare developmental anomaly that gave him 3 legs and 2 sets of sexual organs. He made a living by performing in a circus. Hans van Dyck stands before the special court in Amsterdam in February 1947. She was a Dutch collaborator who handed Jews over to the Nazis during World War II and became the only woman in the Netherlands sentenced to death for collaborating with the occupiers. One of the most famous photos of World War II shows a crying 15-year-old German anti-aircraft gunner, Hans-Georg Henke, after being captured by the U.S. Army in Rechtenbach, Germany. Lotus feet, an ancient Chinese tradition, served as a fetish centered on female helplessness. The mutilated feet made it impossible for a woman to run away, granting men a sense of power and enabling permissive behavior. An Iraqi man celebrates atop a burning American Army Hummer in northern Baghdad, Iraq, 2004. A photograph capturing the reaction of a boy hearing sound for the very first time after a doctor fitted him with a hearing aid in his left ear. Students are undergoing training in courses designed to enhance sexuality in Japan, 1983. Demonstrating responsibility for their work, engineers and builders stand under a bridge over the Ob River during a stress test in the Russian Empire, 1893. People are shown posing on the carcass of a dead whale covered in graffiti in California, 1919. The Iron Maiden was a terrifying torture device for heretics, consisting of a sarcophagus with 20-centimeter spikes that pierce the body when closed, intentionally missing vital organs. In the USA in 1964, a policeman is shown measuring the length of a swimsuit. British soldiers, blinded following a gas attack, stand in a queue awaiting medical attention. A 19th century law regarding deformities remained effective in some U.S. cities until the 1970s, prohibiting maimed, deformed, sick, or otherwise disgusting-looking people from appearing in public under threat of a fine. A German pilot without a parachute jumps from his burning plane in 1915. When the British jailed Gandhi in 1932, the nationalist leader continued to spin his own thread, calling upon Indians to create their own textiles rather than purchasing British goods. In ancient Rome, slaves who survived an epidemic were called immunes and were sent to clear away corpses. If they survived that, they received immunitas, which is how the word immunity originated. Police officers attempt to calm a young female fan during a Beatles concert in New York, 1966. This is the world's first photograph, which also holds the distinction of being the first photograph taken during wartime, specifically during the Crimean War in 1853. This image illustrates an old method for determining human weight, showing a woman from the Tarahumara tribe being weighed in Mexico in 1892. Specially designed doors with guided keyholes helped alcoholics in the past insert their keys after drinking. Freed slaves pictured aboard the HMS Daphne, 1868. Taken in 1961, this photo shows a man adding fuel to his pair of motorized roller skates. During the Great Ohio River flood of 1937, which submerged 70% of Louisville. A surreal photo captured a horse stranded high up in a tree. One of the last photos of passengers boarding the American Airlines flight on September 11th, the plane that later crashed into the Pentagon due to hijacking. 3 Jewish men, all of whom survived the Auschwitz concentration camp and were liberated on the same day, reunite 73 years later in a photo from 2019. Kiyoshi Ogawa, a kamikaze pilot who attacked the American aircraft carrier Bunker Hill. East German border guards watched as tear gas was used to disperse protesters on the other side of the Berlin Wall in 1988. From the 13th to the 18th century in Japan, a woman's marital status was revealed by her smile. Immediately after marriage, Japanese women began painting their teeth black. The execution of Amon Goeth, the commandant of the Plaszow concentration camp. He was the infamous officer who entertained himself by shooting prisoners from his balcony using a sniper rifle. Stuntman Todd Green falling to his death while attempting to transfer from an airplane wing to a helicopter during an air show near Detroit, USA, 2011. For 5 years, a prisoner in Brazil secretly dug a tunnel to escape, only to discover that it led directly into the guard room. 2 NASA engineers are pictured inside a massive hangar, the size of a 10-story building, where giant vanes guide air through the wind tunnel at the Ames Research Center, 1960. The Shanghai waterfront is filled with evacuation boats following the communist victory in China, 1946. Acoustic locators used for military defense during the era of World War I, in service from 1917 to 1940. A flock of flamingos takes shelter inside a restroom at a Miami zoo to safely wait out the passing of Hurricane Andrew in 1992. Lion bite marks discovered on the skeleton of a Roman gladiator prove that people in ancient Rome actually fought lions in arenas. Masako Owada, the current Empress of Japan, is pictured here with her friends during kindergarten in 1967. Croatian women show off their traditional tattoos, which feature pagan patterns worn by Balkan Slavs as a means to avoid forced conversion to Islam. An ancient praying mantis is preserved in amber, dating back over 12 million years. Maharaja Jai Singh, interested in the luxury of Rolls-Royce, visited a London showroom in casual clothes, where his lack of recognition led nationalists to mistake him for an ordinary Indian and expel him. In response, rather than showing anger, he bought 6 cars and used them to clean the streets back home, causing a scandal that damaged the Rolls-Royce brand by associating it with garbage in the public eye. A protest against the ban on alcohol consumption while driving in the 1920s features the slogan, "I'm not a camel, I want beer." A village wedding in 1913 features incredibly happy faces among the attendees. From smiles to frowns, whatever you felt, share it in the comments section. The next video is coming soon, so stay tuned. Please drop a like and subscribe for more. Catch you later.